Good morning, Mr. Storekeeper.
Good morning, Bernard.
Thanks for joining us. So, what's the situation in the school this week as we speak?
Bernard, actually, the problem is not with only this week. It's data since somewhere last 2 semesters. What the problem is, price of items are keeping on increasing in the open market. But what the government is paying the suppliers for is making them also shortchange us. So this is the situation. For instance, a school you'll be allocated with 50 bags of flour for the semester. But in the open market, because of the price is more than what the government is paying them, the supplier will not bring it. You are in dire need of it. So you have to call them persistently chasing the items. Then they will come to you. Okay, if that's the case, we can only supply you on the terms. 1 bag of flour, you write it, for instance, 2. And if you are doing this to 50, meaning you take 25 and write 50. When auditors come, it will create the impression that you, the storekeeper or the school management, have consumed that or sold that out to suppliers and taken the money. Something like maize, we are supposed to be supplied with 100 kg of maize. But in the open market, it is more expensive for them to supply that. So bring you maize, if it is 100 kg, you are supposed to record 1 bag is to 2 or 3. So what some headmasters decide to do is they will not go for the item, the little that they have, they will use it to feed the student. And in this case, you go to most schools. Can you imagine, Eastern region, how many palm farms do we have over here? But you want a supplier to supply palm oil. They will tell you 1 palm oil, that's 25 liters of palm oil, is equal to 2.
Hold on, let me understand this. Which items do you get from buffer stock and which items do you get from these suppliers?
The whole issue is buffer stock is just a name given out that we get items from buffer stock. But in actual sense, it is individual suppliers who supply in the name of buffer stock, then they go to buffer stock company for the money. So it is not buffer stock as a company that brings us the items directly. They have outsourced it to suppliers.
And you are saying these suppliers are forcing you to do over-invoicing?
They are not. You have to agree before they buy. So if you want to feed your students, you agree to their terms. If not, they will not supply.
And their terms are that if they give you 1 bag, you write 2.
Yes.
How long have they been doing this?
For this, it has been in the system for a while now.
Is it only your school that they ask to do this, or other schools also go through the same thing?
No. This is something general. But people, we can't speak about it. That's why I said teachers cannot speak about it because they don't know the integrity of this issue. They are teaching in the classroom, but with these issues, it is still who can speak to these issues. And they are not.
And which items are these suppliers asking you to do this? Is it just maize or for all the items they supply?
For instance, currently, items which are very high in demand now is cooking oil, that's the vegetable oil, rice, sugar, maize, and mackerel sardine.
Cooking oil, rice, maize, sugar, mackerel, and sardine. These are the ones in high demand.
Yes. And flour.
And flour.
Flour too. Yes.
And all of these, they are forcing you to over-invoice.
They are not forcing.
They are giving you the choice.
If you want to feed your students.
If you want to feed your students, you have to agree to their terms.
Yes, if you want to feed your students, they will not force you.
Okay, which items does the school buy on its own?
The school only buy perishables. That's tomatoes, those perishable goods. But 18 items are under buffer stock to supply. That is cooking oil, maize, soya bean, oil, mackerel, sardine, hot chocolate, Tom Brown. There are 18 items which are under the buffer stock. But they have outsourced to suppliers that they select the suppliers there. The school has no hands in selecting the supplier.
So the 5 top items you mentioned, which one is the most scarce? You said there's maize, rice, sugar, flour, mackerel, and sardine. Which one, and cooking oil, which one are you having the most problems with?
For flour, most schools, about 3 months now, have never seen a bag of flour in their schools. Same as vegetable oil. But once in a while, you get vegetable oil, maybe in less quantities, that if you want to issue them in their right quantity, meaning you have to, it will not take you up to 2 weeks.
So if you don't have flour, does that mean that the cocoa doesn't come with bread then?
You are talking about cocoa. Taking tea without bread is more dangerous than cocoa. Cocoa, at least it is heavy.
So what about cooking oil? If you don't have cooking oil, how do you manage the stews?
Schools are improvising to use margarine as oil.
And this is not just your school. You can confirm that a number of schools are going through this.
Oh, my brother. A lot of schools are going through this. Others started it way back as last.
I told some of the schools have to do barter trade. So maybe you have a lot of rice and somebody has a lot of maize.
That was then.
Is it happening now?
Now schools don't even have to even exchange.
There's nothing to even do barter with.
Yes, because what you have, you want to do barter with, you are even on the timeline, the bomb line. What you have is not even sufficient for you to go and exchange.
Are the parents helping?
Parents are not made to know all this because the government will see it as a failed program. So you don't involve the parents.
Wow.
These informations are being managed in the schools. And teachers, even we live with them in the schools, they don't even know about this. Because you can't speak out.
How is this affecting the students?
With students, since there is always something on the table, you manage to get them something to eat. Those who call home too, sometimes they send them money to go to the canteen.
Wow. Thank you for talking to us, Mr. Storekeeper. So that was the storekeeper speaking to us from all the schools. So multiple layers. I don't even know where to start. Wow. So just to summarize, if you just tuned in, we initially spoke to Injo Carbon, the president of NAGRAT, who essentially said the government ego is not allowing it to do the right thing, that free SHS should not mean free feeding,